This is Markin Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Follow on Twitter. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Marking Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Brennan likes fisting. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. We're marking out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans.
Welcome to Markin Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. This is episode 697. Thanks for listening. Check out previous episodes at markinout.com. Also on Spotify, on Google Podcasts, and on Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you may be listening to podcasts. Also, check us out on TikTok at Markin Out, on Twitter at Markin Out. Give us a like on Facebook. And check us out on Instagram at MarkinOut11. Buy a t-shirt over at ProWrestlingTees.com/MarkinOut. You can follow me, Dave the Rave, on all social media platforms at DavidPTDPT. You can follow Chris at Chris Sweendog over on Twitter and CMSweeney85 on Instagram. And follow Brandon at BTTG161. Brandon, how are you?
I'm doing awesome as always. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. How was your week?
It was a normal week. I really didn't do anything. How about yourself?
Well, today was a good day, and this week was a good week. What did I do? That's a good question. It's a good question. Tried out a diner around here, the Omega.
Oh, see Kenny?
Omega? Huh? I did not see Kenny. I did ask if he was in the kitchen today, and they said that Kenny was not there.
Where is the Omega Diner?
It is in... Where is it?
New Hyde Park.
New Hyde Park.
How did I get to that before you?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, it's fancy on the outside at night.
Yeah, it's a nice diner. I mean, I personally think the diners are the best.
Ugh, they have beer-battered onion rings, I see. I'm not a big fan of beer-battered anything.
No. You'll be happy I didn't get an omelet, though.
Nice, but what'd you get?
What did I get? I got some grilled salmon with some mustard dill sauce that they had and grilled veggies.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
And then a cream of turkey soup on the side.
You got like the worst diner meal I've ever heard of.
All right, so what's a diner meal to you? What's a good diner meal?
I don't know. I mean, first of all,
like I was trying to think when I was ordering. I'm like, I wonder what Brandon would think is a good diner meal.
A nice panini, a burger,
a panini.
Yeah.
Okay, what else?
A wrap.
Burger, I'll agree. Diners have a good burger, but I don't sometimes, like, if I'm going to get a burger from a diner, I found that I usually prefer a veggie burger.
Oh my God. What is a veggie burger from a diner? Those like Dr. Prager gimmicks or whatever?
Exactly.
Oh my God. You gotta get a fresh one. Like Cheesecake Factory has a homemade veggie burger.
Yeah, that works for me. I don't like taking I don't like taking a bite into a burger and having the juices flow out and then the bun gets all soggy.
That just means they cooked it wrong, or not cooked it wrong. They didn't let it rest.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. All right, so what else is a good diner meal for you?
I mean, I named a bunch. Greek food is typically good.
What else?
Greek food is typically good at a diner. Matzo ball soup.
Of course. They didn't have matzo ball soup on the menu. I was surprised. New England clam chowder is good from diner. That's the white.
Take your word for it. I don't know. I don't dive into clams.
The East Bay Diner in Wantagh has great lobster bisque soup, but they only serve it on Fridays. Yeah.
Yeah, so whatever you get, typically you get some well-done French fries with it.
Of course.
Maybe a bread basket, some coleslaw and pickles.
The bread basket that they had was really delicious, the bread. I was impressed. At the East Bay Diner, way back when, they used to give, as an appetizer, they used to give little buffalo wings, pretty much.
It's not buffalo wings, it's potted
chicken legs. Chicken legs. No, it wasn't potted chicken.
Yes,
it was chicken legs.
Yeah, they were little drumettes of potted chicken.
Yeah, little drumettes.
And like the gray gravy.
Yeah, but not your typical like Thanksgiving gravy.
No, it's like the gray gravy. It's potted chicken. That's what it's called.
Oh, yeah, that was always delicious. The meat just fell right off the bone, but they don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
That was always really good. So that's called potted chicken?
I mean, that's what we grew up calling it. I don't know. You might have to put like Jewish in front of that. I don't know.
Really?
Jewish style? Yeah.
I mean, it's a Greek. I mean, what diner isn't Greek?
Right.
I'm going to have to see if that's actually on the menu because I would totally get that if that's
It probably, actually, it's probably chicken. Oh, what is it? Chicken fricassee? That's what I think it is.
Huh. Good to know. I'm going to note that.
I think.
Well, all right. Well, what did you do? And then one of my patients actually brought in, they brought in some food for me that was delicious.
What was it?
So I got to eat that the other day.
What was it?
What was it? It was called, I'm going to totally mess this up. Chole Bhaturi and Gulab Jamun. Gulab Jamun. Totally messing that up. But it was like, it was chickpeas in a curry. The bhaturi is kind of like a naan, kind of like a bread. And then the Gulab Jamun was kind of like a Munchkins from Dunkin' Donuts, except soaked in syrup.
I think I've seen that on Instagram before.
Yeah, it was delicious. But yeah, love my patients, especially when they bring me food. What about you? How was your week?
Already said didn't do anything.
Nice. Well, something that you did do is you watched some Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, which kicked off with Drew McIntyre, where the Judgment Day interrupted, and Damian Priest said that Drew McIntyre is out there still making excuses, and he doesn't need the Judgment Day to keep his championship. And Damian Priest said Drew McIntyre can face Finn Balor on Monday Night Raw, and if he beats Finn Balor, the Judgment Day will be barred from ringside. But when Finn Balor beats Drew McIntyre, they'll all be ringside, not because he needs them at Clash of the Castle, but because he wants them there when he beats Drew McIntyre in his hometown in front of his family. And Drew McIntyre accepted that. We saw a segment with Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan, where Liv Morgan said that she'd really like to see Dominic later, and she thinks he also would like to see her later on. And she left him her room key. She didn't leave a room number. I don't know if it was, there was no room, like a wrapping around the key to signify what room that she was in.
Yeah, definitely. It was very interesting with her leaving that room key available over there.
Very funny when JD McDonough found out. He was like, oh, I like that gasp. I popped at that, and then I popped even more. Carlito goes, that's cool. And they're like, that's not cool. And then later on, we saw Rey Mysterio, Dragon Lee, and Braun Strowman pick up the victory over Carlito, Dominic Mysterio, and JD McDonough. I liked, first of all, that Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee had matching gear here.
Yeah, that was cool. And I'm just going to make note, when was previously the part with Balor too? In the room key?
No.
Okay, that was later on.
Yeah.
All right, I forgot when that was. Yeah, but them matching was very cool. I like gonna skip ahead, but the Zelina Vega and Braun Strowman spot.
That was really funny.
With the raising of the hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Zelina's like jumping up and everything. Totally overselling it, but it was hilarious.
Yeah. I liked when, in the match, the Judgment Day caught Rey Mysterio and used him as a weapon to knock Dragon Lee down.
Yeah, that was a cool spot.
But Liv Morgan showed up, and Dominic tried to make her leave, and then Zelina Vega, I guess, bumped her. and Liv landed right on Dominic in a very provocative way. And then Zelina Vega attacked Liv Morgan and brawled with her, and JD McDonough and Rey Mysterio separated that. And then Braun Strowman did the freight train gimmick around the ring. And then he and Dragon Lee did the shoulder dive combo to pick up that victory.
Yeah, it was definitely a nice match, I thought.
Yeah. I don't remember when it was that Finn Balor took the key, actually. It might have been during that spot.
I kind of feel it was at the close of that, which is interesting because you don't know if Finn Balor was taking the key for himself or if he was taking it to save Dirty Dom, which he has been doing.
All the while, in the background, there is a briefcase with that demon face paint on it, and people are like, well, he's probably going to be winning the Money in the Bank.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it's been there for a few weeks now, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I guess to rewind, we saw Io Sky pick up the victory over Lyra Valkyria. I thought this had good back and forth. We saw Lyra hit Nightwing, and Dakota Kai ends up breaking up the pin behind the referee's back. And Io was able to take over for a second over there, but Valkyria continued to attack Io until Io pulled Lyra Valkyria's hair into a crucifix and picked up that victory.
Yeah, I like this heavier style from Io Sky. And then after the match, she just laid into her big time.
Yeah, Damage Control jumped Lyra, and Kaden Carter and Katana Chance showed up, and Io made Damage Control leave. And then later on, Dakota Kai questioned what that was out there, and Io freaked out.
Yeah, she totally just lost it.
So, but earlier in the night, we saw Sami Zayn speak with Maxine and Akira Tozawa to check on them. And he asked if Maxine saw the footage of what actually happened last week, which she did. And then Otis showed up after Sami said that they don't have to take this from Chad Gable. And Otis was like, he was trying to explain to Sami Zayn, I guess. And he's like, I had it all. I had Tucky, I had my Peach, alluding to Mandy Rose and Tucker. He had the Money in the Bank briefcase, and he lost it all. And now he has it all again, and without Chad Gable, he's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And Sami yelled at him for that. And then later on, we saw Sami Zayn speak about Chad Gable and beating him at Clash of the Castle. And then Alpha Academy came out, and Chad Gable said it's so typical for him to try to tear down what he's built and make him the superhero of the story himself. And the only person manipulating anyone in that is Sami Zayn, not Chad Gable. And he said they're all happy. Meanwhile, everyone in the background, they got like the longest frown you could possibly see or have. And Sami questioned everyone and basically said Chad Gable doesn't care about their happiness, and the only way they'll be happy again is if they leave him. And then we go into the match where Sami Zayn defeats Otis, but Otis was back to being a beast.
Yeah, Otis has that mean streak inside of him.
And ultimately, I guess it was Chad Gable who cost him the match, because Gable got up on that apron to yell at Otis for not going hard enough. Yeah.
You know, we saw the same thing happen against him and Bronson Reed, where it looked like he was about to pick up the victory.
And it was the distraction that gave Sami Zayn the momentum to hit that haluva kick. And after the match, we saw Chad Gable attack Sami Zayn. He made Akira Tozawa and Maxine get out of the ring. He was pissed off at them again. And he picked Sami Zayn up to do the clothesline, for Otis to do the clothesline. Otis wouldn't do it. He ate a few slaps for that, and Otis like hulked up and ran right at Chad Gable, but Chad Gable moves out of the way, and it was really, he was running at Sami Zayn in the corner. And he dropped Sami after that with the world's strongest slam.
Yeah.
But then Otis turned all his attention to Chad Gable and acted as if he was going to attack Chad Gable, but he left.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens with this. I mean, it's there's a lot happening backstage too that's really spicing up this storyline as well.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, you could see Chad Gable and Ivy Nile talking this week. I think.
I mean, I don't even think you could say... I mean, it looked like it was definitely 100%.
Oh, I just mean I don't remember 100%.
Oh, yeah, no, that... You sent me the picture of it.
So.
You know? But next up, you had Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark pick up the victory over the Unholy Union. Stemming from everything breaking down the following week.
The champion sat ringside for this.
Yes. Solid victory, though.
But not much took place in it. So, I wish this match was longer, but Shayna Baszler got that dominant victory coming out of Battleground. And we'll see what happens at the PLE.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that breaks down.
After that, we saw Braun Breaker pick up the victory over Ilya Dragunov, which was hard-hitting. I personally didn't feel like this was how a match between the two of them should go. Like, we saw Braun Breaker control a lot of it, which makes sense given his recent time on TV. But it just felt off.
Mm-hmm.
And the crowd seemed quiet for most of this. They still chanted, "This is awesome," which I was surprised to hear after Ilya hit that H-bomb.
Mm-hmm.
But towards the end, I think that's when it started picking up. He cleared off the commentary table. He ends up getting slammed on it. And then Braun Breaker slammed him on the barricade and then into the ring post. Dragunov still fought back, but he got dropped by a spear and he rolls out of the ring. Breaker drops him with another spear outside the ring. Dragunov beats that 10 count and then gets into the ring and eats one more spear to lose. So I do feel like instead of looking at this as if it was like Gunther versus Ilya Dragunov or something, like where Sheamus versus Ilya, where it's been so evenly matched,
Mm-hmm.
It didn't feel that way in this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very interested to see what they're going to end up doing with Dragunov and Breaker. It seems like they're going to continue with Breaker as a monster, but I don't know where Dragunov is going to fit in with everything. Yeah, and then, I have to see what's going to happen.
And after the match, Braun Breaker went after Ilya Dragunov, but Ricochet showed up and attacked Braun Breaker, and then later on, we see Braun Breaker spear Ilya Dragunov backstage, and then he brawled with Ricochet, and Braun Breaker, off of a production truck, threw Ricochet... Well, first of all, he threw Ricochet into that production truck, like Kevin Nash did to Rey Mysterio on that episode of Nitro. But then he power slammed him off of those steps onto a car. That seemed like a pretty tame way to write Ricochet off if he is in fact done with WWE.
Yeah, they went through a lot of effort to send him off with this.
What do you mean a lot of effort? I feel like they did nothing.
Well, I mean, a lot of I don't mean like a lot of effort, but they did a lot to write him off of TV instead of not just having him booked.
But then it's so goofy because I understand that it's not going to be on TV, but he's still currently the Speed Champion.
Well, so that's where they announced they announced that this upcoming SmackDown or whatever on Friday, they're going to have him defend his championship, which we know the outcome already. But that's where this all kind of is weird because and then they also announced on WWE.com or whatever that Ricochet's going to be out with an injury for a prolonged period of time. But a few days later, he's going to be defending the Speed Championship. So I feel like
that's goofy.
Exactly. Oh yeah, big time. I feel like they really screwed this up. They should just be honest and be like, the Speed Championship, it was pre-taped.
But also in the same sense, like if, like even take out the Speed Championship, does Ricochet go to AEW, or like is he? There's still possibilities that he comes back and doesn't go to AEW, like the ambulance ride to AEW or whatever.
He gets out and Tony Khan's just like, hey, welcome to the team.
Yeah, I don't know, like I mean, that'd be a huge match, I think. I think he'd be over big time if he returned in a few weeks or so, and that leads into SummerSlam with Braun Breaker.
Yeah, and to have Samantha Irving leave ringside to join him in the ambulance.
Yeah.
Like they really did a lot to the point where it doesn't look like he's going away. Even though they reported that he was leaving, he gave his release request and stuff like that.
Not release request. I just think his contract was up, I believe.
I thought that he asked for his release.
No, I think his contract was up.
I don't know. I saw mixed things throughout, but we'll find out because, as you said, if he actually re-signed with WWE, this is a great way to get him off TV, and then guess what? You build up Braun Breaker, build them up, and who can come back? Ricochet can come back into the fold and pick up a big victory over Braun Breaker.
Did you see any of those goofy tweets where like, oh, this is how AEW sends off somebody, and this is how WWE does it?
No, I didn't see
like
any of that.
One hand was like Jade Cargill, like going out, not on top, but not like Ricochet getting beat down or whatever.
Yeah, well,
Meanwhile, they literally just had Edge get a hand-picked opponent in his like hometown. Like that's not it's not even a comparison thing. Like you can't say that. WWE also does stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. You can't.
It's what works for the storyline.
Territorial tribalism, whatever you want to call it. People are stupid. But yeah.
We saw Miz looking for R-Truth throughout the night, and he finally found R-Truth, and Truth was saying that he spoke to a fortune teller who said they have a title match against the APA on Monday Night Raw, and he's like, what are you talking about? I, right away in my head, knew who he was talking about. I knew he meant AOP, and obviously Scarlett Bordeaux does the tarot cards.
Mm-hmm.
So it turned out to be Scarlett that he was talking to, and she was reading his fortune. And we saw Karrion Kross and Scarlett also address New Day and what happened last week, and they said that they would never abandon Xavier Woods. So that continues to plant seeds with Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. Meanwhile, you fast forward to the championship match where the Awesome Truth pick up the victory over AOP to retain because New Day showed up. They started beating Karrion Kross down. R-Truth used the title to hit Akim. It had no effect on him, but Miz was able to roll him up to get that quick victory. I don't know why that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, what's your take on that? Because I know how you...
It doesn't make any sense that a face would do something like that. Especially R-Truth.
That's the reaction that I want to hear from you. Because that's consistent for you.
Like, how does it make sense? I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that. But the Awesome Truth are still tag team champions. The main event saw Drew McIntyre pick up the victory over Finn Balor. As you said before, Samantha Irvin left with Ricochet in that ambulance, so Pat McAfee stepped in as the ring announcer. So I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
McIntyre controlled most of this match, but Damian Priest at one point showed up towards the end. Carlito and JD McDonough also showed up. And Drew ends up taking them out. Still able to gain control. Still able to hit that Claymore. And he picks up the victory to now have Finn Balor, Dominic, Carlito, and JD McDonough banned from ringside at Clash of the Castle. Do I believe that? Not necessarily.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that it's possible.
I mean, we'll see what happens.
True.
So that's Monday Night Raw. Moving back in time to NXT Battleground that took place at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. We saw the show open up with Sexy Red, where she welcomed everyone to the show and then twerked. But I would say that the UFC Apex looked cool. It did have that area of empty space, which was weird, but it looked cool. Hopefully it makes its way into a video game next year.
It was definitely interesting.
Yeah. But the first match of the evening saw Kalani Jordan pick up the victory over Lash legend Fallon Henley, Sol Ruka, Mia Yim, and Jada Parker in that ladder match to become the inaugural Women's North American Champion.
I wasn't expecting Kalani Jordan to pick up this victory.
Yeah, I had Fallon Henley winning this, but Kalani Jordan was so impressive a few months ago, and we literally thought she was going to become women's champion and win that breakout tournament and everything that Lola Vice ended up winning. So I'm happy to see her win this anyway, regardless. But the match itself, I thought was very well done. There were some spots, like the sleeper hold spot, I think was a bit ridiculous. But I don't think I've ever seen something like that where they all pile on vertically. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was also, like, it was ridiculous, but also kind of impressive. The Lash Legend press spot from all 5 women I thought was pretty cool, which had to suck for her to actually, like, not go through the ladder. It just, like, bounce off and, like, kind of break, but not break. But I think for me, the biggest thing I was waiting for in this match was a Soul Snatcher from the ladder, which she first finally hits. She hits it in the corner and then goes up to the ladder and hits it off the ladder. So I was happy to finally see that. But Kalani Jordan, first ever North American champion, joins Adam Cole as the first ever North American champion.
Wow. It was an awesome spot for all of these women to be in, especially as an opener for
I mean, Sol Ruka's, that was her first PLE, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. You know, next up you had Nathan Frazer and Axiom pick up the victory to retain their tag team championships against the OC. I was very impressed with this match.
I was unexpected with the outcome, though.
Okay.
But yeah, this was a good match. The OC, I think, did a very good job at keeping the champions away from one another.
Agreed.
But then the champions, I think, also killed it with their speed when they were on the offense. And it seemed like Axiom at one point could have prevented Luke Gallows from hitting that chokeslam to Nathan Frazer on the apron. But he just watched it, which I thought was weird. And then he got rocked with I'm going to assume it was a gun stun from the middle rope. I don't know what necessarily, if Carl Anderson has a different name for it there. Mm-hmm. But I thought that could have been the ending. And the champions came back. Axiom hit a Spanish fly from the top rope. Nathan Frazer hit that Phoenix Splash to pick up the victory and retain the tag team championships.
Yeah, good match.
Yeah, very much so.
Next up, you had Lola Vice pick up the victory over Shayna Baszler in an NXT Underground matchup. I'm definitely surprised by the outcome of this one. You don't think?
Nah, I don't know. Because didn't we both pick Lola Vice?
I mean, so I guess I'm more so surprised at how the outcome went. I was more so surprised by how the outcome was than anything else. Obviously, I think we both picked Lola Vice, as you said, but the way that it happened and everything, I think it was a ref stoppage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, ref stoppage with the punches and stuff like that. And then Shayna was trying to take down the referee after the matchup.
The lighting, first of all, was trash.
Yes, agreed.
But they pulled off the MMA thing. We also saw Shayna Baszler clear the commentary table off of that at one point. Mm-hmm. And she tried to put Lola Vice through it, but they brawled on top of it. Shayna goes to hit Lola Vice with a knee, but she hits the commentary table instead. So Lola Vice was working on Shayna Baszler's knee throughout the match after that. And we did see Shayna Baszler start taking people out ringside.
It seemed so random to me that she did this.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about. And I understand people who are like, oh, this underground stuff doesn't connect with me, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. I enjoyed it. And the referee, like you said, stopped the match after Lola Vice pounced on Shayna Baszler with all those punches. Shayna Baszler tried to get up. And that's why she was like getting into it with the referee almost. Because it didn't seem like Shayna Baszler wanted it to be over.
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, it was more of that thing like she didn't know her surroundings and where she was. Like how sometimes
to me, that seemed like I didn't pass out, I didn't get knocked out. This match was still mine to fight.
I don't know, because sometimes in UFC fights, you have stuff like that take place.
Right.
Where the person will, let's say, get knocked out, and then the referee will like check on them and they'll start like shooting in or trying to wrestle or grapple with the referee, not knowing that where they really are.
Could have been either or, I guess.
Yeah, so that's how I viewed it more than she wanted to keep on going at it.
I do feel like this is how they thought or wanted that SummerSlam match in 2023 to go with Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know a lot of people hated that match. I
think I did. I was one of those that didn't like it.
If I'm not mistaken, I enjoyed it for what it was.
I don't know. Shayna's really... I mean, Ronda Rousey's really doing something to her name.
Yeah, her last run was not the best, but
no, she's totally tarnished her entire name.
After that, we saw Oba Femi pick up the victory over Joe Coffey and Wesley to retain the championship, the North American Championship. Oba Femi controlled a chunk of this, and I thought that was a nice thing to have, because I think he looked like a beast handling Joe and Wesley at the same exact time. Mm-hmm. And even when Joe was punching him while he had Wesley up for a suplex, he still looked like a beast.
Mm-hmm.
That dirty dancing spot with Wesley at the top on the middle rope, I thought was awesome when he threw Wesley into Joe Coffey.
Mm-hmm.
I never seen that before.
Yeah, a lot of cool spots. Oba Femi's going to continue to be incredible, though.
I liked Joe getting up for getting Oba Femi up for that Death Valley driver, and then Wesley jumped onto Oba's back before the Death Valley driver. Although that was pretty cool. Not necessarily a tag team spot or a double team move or something, but it was still like a chain of events almost.
Yeah.
But Gallus showed up to beat Oba Femi down, hoping to see the Rascals there. But Oba Femi ends up taking them out. They pop back up to break a pin for Wesley. And then Wesley took them out, and Oba Femi ends up catching Wesley from the Meteora and hit a powerbomb. And that was pretty much the end of the match. And then Gallus attacked Wesley later on, and I'm like, oh, we're getting it. We're getting the Rascals. But I'll put a pin in that.
Yeah. Next up, you had Roxanne Perez pick up the victory over Jordynne Grace to retain the NXT Championship. This matchup was really entertaining. It was really cool to see a solid matchup between the two of them. Gnarly moment. Jordynne Grace, thank God she said that she's retiring wearing earrings during matches.
She got her ear ripped open for the second time, I believe, in a month. It had previously been ripped open in a match against Marty Bell in TNA.
Ugh.
But the earring, it was a different earring also, by the way. So she had 2 spots now get ripped open.
Oh, so it was a totally different spot too?
Yeah, same ear, but 2 different spots where it was just
Jeez.
it got stuck in the what are they? The stockings or whatever?
Yeah, the Jeff Hardy stockings.
Which I believe some people were like, women should stop wearing those because they don't work the same way.
What do you mean they don't work the
Like,
same
it's
way?
hard to maneuver with them, I think. Like, wrestle and, like, maybe be safe with control. Because you can get stuck in them easier. I think.
Who knows? I've never wrestled with them. I don't know.
But Tatum Paxley showed up and grabbed the Knockouts Championship, and she ran away with it. Ash by elegance.
Totally didn't expect her to be there.
She comes out, takes Tatum Paxley out. I pop for Dana Brooke being there, and Vic Joseph was like, Dana, Ash by elegance.
And the crowd was so mild during it.
Yeah, well.
Like, they had no reaction to Ash by elegance appearing at all.
But Jordynne Grace knocked both of them out with the title, and that was pretty much the end. After that, Roxanne reversed the Juggernaut driver with a nice cutter, and then hit Pop Rocks to pick up the victory.
Yeah.
After that, the main event saw Trick Williams pick up the victory over Ethan Page to retain the NXT Championship. I think it's really, truly an absolute shame how Ethan Page's time in AEW turned out. Because when he went there, everyone thought they were going to be doing big things with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then almost immediately, it was just a bunch of AEW Dark instead. And then he started being used more, and nothing came from that either. And then he was placed in Matt Hardy's group, and that fizzled out, and he just randomly he disappeared to Ring of Honor. So hopefully we'll see a resurgence. Resurgence? That doesn't sound like the right word. Resurgence of Ethan Page.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy this match. Ethan Page put Trick Williams through the commentary table at one point. He hit the Ego's, I think it's the Ego's Edge. Razor's Edge. I don't know if he changes that. I'm not sure. Or if the Ego's Edge is a different move. But he argued with the referee, and then Trick hit him with that trick shot to pick up the victory. So I was very entertained by this. I thought it was a good debut match for Ethan Page in NXT.
Yeah, I agree. It was a good debut for him. The ending I did not like.
Yeah, I thought we would see more.
Yeah, the ending was very sudden to me.
The only thing that happened, we had that, it seemingly came out of nowhere, and then Sexy Red came out to celebrate with Trick to close the show.
Yeah.
And I thought we would see something bigger come after that, and I also thought we'd see Sexy Red be way more involved in the show than she was, but...
Yeah, it seemed like she was just busy twerking with Shawn Michaels backstage.
And Lola Vice as well.
Yeah.
I think she got arrested that day before going to NXT, though.
Oh, jeez.
I don't remember what the news report was. She got into an airport brawl.
So stupid. I don't understand. I don't understand some people.
But fast forwarding to NXT, it kicked off with Kalani Jordan, where she spoke about being the first champion and bringing importance to that North American Championship, being the inaugural champion. She got cut off by Jada Parker. And she spoke about beating up Mia Yim, and then Mia Yim came out to beat her down and start their match. What'd you think of Kalani Jordan's promo?
I thought it was
I was going to say, I saw some people bad-mouthing it, saying, oh, she's clearly not ready to be champion.
I thought that she was all right. I mean, all right, so if she's not the best on the mic, give her somebody that can speak on the mic.
What does that mean?
Well, give her a manager if she...
I don't know if you need a manager.
If she needs a mouthpiece, but she'll learn to speak on the mic better.
Yeah.
You know, she'll do better. It's not like she needs the mic every single week.
No. And then, so we go into the first match of the evening. We see Mia Yim pick up the victory over Jada Parker. I I thought Mia Yim would win this. We saw Jada Parker reverse that eat defeat, and she rocked the absolute hell out of Mia Yim with that hip check. And it
it was a nice hip check.
It reminded me of Saray's dropkick against the ropes when everyone's like, "Oh, Saray is so dangerous. She almost killed so much, blah blah blah." That's what it reminded me of. For a few weeks now, when we see her do that hip check, it's like that doesn't do anything for me. That doesn't look good to me. It doesn't look strong enough. The hip check to Mia Yim was phenomenal. But the OC end up showing up when Jada Parker went to use a chair. They prevented her from using that. Not so sure they needed to cheat to pull that off, though. I didn't understand why the referee needed to be distracted for them to, like, take the chair away.
Mm-hmm.
But Jada Parker was annoyed at the OC showing up, and she spoke to OTM about handling it herself, unlike Mia Yim, who needs the OC. And we know that Mia Yim is going to be the first to challenge Kalani Jordynne for that North American Championship. I have to assume it's not done between her and Jada Parker.
Mm-hmm.
After that, we saw Chase U, Riley Osborne, and Duke Hudson were arguing with Ridge. And Thea Hale showed up and told everyone to shut up, which I pop big time for. I think it's always funny when she curses. I mean, even when Andre Chase curses, I think it's funny, but...
Yeah, she's so innocent.
Yeah, but she basically ran all four of them down and said why they should trust one another. And I thought that was a great, like, build-up segment for Chase U. So what we see next week, I'm not 100% sure, but
we may not see them breaking apart as soon as we thought.
Yeah. After that, we take the pin out. We see Gallus pick up the victory over Wesley and New Catch Republic. It makes sense.
I think Gallus needs to win.
Well, Gallus got that win.
Yeah.
And it made sense that Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne were there. They were part of the storyline previously. But this match was pretty much set up to bring the Rascals in. And everybody thought that. So I'm just happy that the tag team partners made sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this was very entertaining.
Yeah,
I like
that
Hurricane Rana that Wesley did off Wolfgang's back to
that was a cool spot.
Mark Coffey. I thought that was dope. Yeah, and then those diving sequences from Wesley was dope. Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne I thought were great. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised that Joe got that victory.
All right. Next up, you had...
And then also, by the way, later on, when Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate were celebrating with Axiom and Nathan Fraser... We had the D'Angelo family walk in and talk about that Heritage Cup. And Nathan Fraser said that he misses the Heritage Cup and said that he could hold both at the same time. So it seems like we might see Nathan Fraser challenge for that Heritage Cup soon.
I wouldn't mind.
But who knows? Maybe we also see Axiom. I feel like they've just like repeated the same backstage segment that they did recently where... Well, in this one, Axiom was like my friend A-Kid, basically.
Uh-huh.
Or not, I don't even think he said A-Kid, he just said my friend held it.
Yeah, I think they just refer to him.
But yeah, so we'll see what happens with Tony D'Angelo and Nathan Fraser.
Yeah. Next up, you had the return of Wendy Chu, picking up the victory over Brinley Reese. What do you think about Wendy Chu's, I guess, new character? I mean, so... Far from comedic now.
I don't know if it was comedic beforehand.
True. Not so much comedic, but... Yeah, true.
It's just
but
friendly,
very serious
friendly
now.
and evil.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Brinley Reese thought this was going to be like a nice, friendly match, but this was a different Wendy Chu. And it wasn't a one-sided match, but I like this new character for Wendy Chu. The music will have to grow on me because the other one also, like, it's constantly stuck in my head. But I'm looking forward to seeing this character development for Wendy Chu because we've seen her in the past with characters, and I'm happy with what this turned out to be so far.
Yeah, I agree. I want to see more.
We saw Cody Rhodes show up, the WWE champion. And when Cody won the WWE Championship, I wanted him to, literally that week, I would have preferred for it, but I wanted him to stop off at NXT just because, or before heading to Madison Square Garden. Since NXT was a place that Dusty Rhodes helped build, this just happened to fall out on the 9-year anniversary of Dusty's passing. But I think that's an important place because, storyline-wise, I think it makes sense because, like I said, that's what Dusty helped build. Madison Square Garden is what Dusty couldn't pull off. So I think that stop, for me at least, was necessary. And I'm happy that we got this. And Cody Rhodes here spoke about Clash of the Castle and making AJ Styles say, "I quit." Then Trick Williams showed up. He mentioned how they're both champion and they both had to climb a mountain to get there. And then he asked Cody for advice on going from the hunter to the hunted, which Cody kind of teased the match between the two of them. But he said that Ava granted him the authority to let Trick Williams know who his next challenger is. And he said that we'll see next week on NXT a 25-man battle royal. And some of them he may know. Some of them may be from a different locker room.
Ooh.
And right when he says that, like millions of names are flowing through my head. Mustafa Ali is the X Division champion in TNA. He would be fun. Top Dollar is the digital media champion. Dirty Dango, I think, would get a huge pop.
I could see Dango getting a big pop.
Frankie Kazarian would be crazy. Josh Alexander would be crazy. Matt Cardona is a possibility.
He has a torn pec.
Oh, you're right. I completely forgot about that. He's not a possibility. I completely forgot about that.
Sorry, I popped that.
Speaking
for
of
you.
Matt, though, Matt Hardy's a possibility. Jeff Hardy's a possibility. Apparently his contract is up.
Yeah, apparently he's going to be appearing on TNA very shortly.
Well, we don't know about that, do we?
Apparently.
Nick Nemeth is a possibility.
Sami Callihan?
Mike Bailey. Santana, I think, would be pretty crazy. PCO would be, like, insane.
Joe Hendry?
Yeah, I think Joe Hendry is, like, the biggest name that everyone would want there because...
I mean, they've been teasing his name recently.
Yeah, they had his name teased... Well, not his name, but they did
his theme song.
Yeah, they did that on NXT as well. So it does seem like they're gearing up to have him there. He's obviously, unfortunately, booked for this weekend, so he won't be at Clash of the Castle, but NXT, I mean, he was just training at the dungeon, so maybe we will see Joe Hendry show up.
Yeah.
But if some might be from other locker rooms, there's like a million names. Another name who's just been sitting in AEW doing nothing. We don't know anything about what his deal is. Ricky Starks. Maybe he shows up. Maybe he's not under contract with AEW anymore, and we just don't know that.
It's very true.
Later on, we saw Cody Rhodes run into JC Jane and Jasmine Nix. He's like, just the person I was looking for. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? How does that make any sense?
Yeah.
And from a paper bag, he pulls out the undashing Cody Rhodes mask and hands it to her, and I popped big time for that. And Jasmine Nix was like, ooh, dashing. And I was like, that's amazing. I thought that was great. Because JC Jane right now has that broken nose. She's wearing a mask, so maybe we will see JC Jane go as dashing JC Jane from now on. I think that would be acceptable.
I would accept it.
After that, we saw Lexis King pick up the victory over Dante Chen in a Singapore cane match with some of the craziest Singapore cane shots I have ever seen and heard on a wrestling program. I thought that was insane. I think like there was the first shot from Dante Chen or to Dante Chen was like, oh my God. The one thing I didn't understand from this, which I feel like the referee should have tried to get the actual Lexis King cane away, he used that to end the match.
And I love the cane with the throwback to his dad.
But how does that make sense? Is that how is that legal? It's not a Singapore cane.
It's not legal.
So I didn't understand that part. I feel like you have the ability to use the Singapore cane, but then you could also just use any weapons.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunate, but the match I was entertained by. After that, we saw Eddie Thorpe pick up the victory over Tavion Heights. I think it's nice to have Eddie Thorpe back. I think it was a good victory for his return. We also saw Charlie Dempsey tell Miles Bourne to get Tavion to him because he was impressed with him. So maybe we'll see Tavion Heights join the No Quarter Catch crew. And we'll have to see what's next with Eddie Thorpe.
Mm-hmm.
After that, Sean Spears picked up the victory over Javon Evans. I thought this was a good main event. I liked the rope hung DDT that Sean Spears hit because like the setup, it like flowed. I thought that was very nice. Yeah. But Javon hit that huge cutter. Sean Spears rolled out of the ring. So Javon dove onto him, did a rolling senton off the barricade, and then he ends up missing one move and landed on the commentary table, and Sean Spears hit the C4. Yeah, he hit that C4, and Javon Evans was bleeding from the mouth after the match I saw. I'm not sure what happened there.
I couldn't really catch where Spears caught him.
But after the match, we saw Cody Rhodes meet up with Sean Spears, and then Ethan Page walked into the picture, and then Lexis King walked into the picture, which was just a wild sight to see.
Yeah, and then Cody is just like, it looks like all of you are in a better, or it looks like all of you are in a good place.
The AEW Galaxy melted over that.
Yeah, it looks like you are all in a good place.
They were furious.
That was just hilarious to have all of them together. And what's really cool is when you really do think about it, like not kayfabe wise, like backstage, like I guess I should just say shoot wise. For all that they've been through together, and Cody Rhodes being pretty much potentially maybe a Vince McMahon-like figure to some of them because of him being a founder of AEW.
First of all, wait a minute, hold on. I don't know if maybe you don't even know this. Cody Rhodes and Sean Spears go super far back. They were OVW Tag Team Champions.
I remember seeing that.
I even think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Cody Rhodes beat Sean Spears and vice versa for the OVW Championship as well.
I think I remember that, but I mean, even with Pillman and stuff like that, I feel like they do look up to Cody Rhodes and everything. So for all of them to be together again, I feel like it's just a cool moment.
And also, Cody Rhodes and Ethan Page were tag team champions in AEW together, I believe.
Huh.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
But so the AEW crowd did not handle that well at all. And they were like, oh, and WWE, if they did this, they deserve a retaliation. I can't wait for AEW to retaliate. As if the AEW doesn't almost weekly mention WWE. Like, what do you mean? Like,
yeah.
But we close NXT with Roxanne Perez's State of the Women's Division. Earlier, we saw Stevie Turner tell Ava that she overheard Roxanne saying that she was going to call Ava out. And then she ends up calling Ava out to first thank her or for Ava to thank her for winning against Jordynne Grace. And Roxanne said that she'll always find a way to win. It doesn't matter who Ava has for her. And then Jasmine Nix and JC Jane showed up. And JC said way before Roxanne Perez was in NXT, she was one of the people, the reasons why people tuned into NXT. Then we saw Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson show up. And Lash said that it's Metaphor that's making headlines. And then Lola Vice showed up and spoke about Battleground and said Roxanne Perez is on another level. one that she's on as well, and they are not on the same level. It led to a brawl. Roxanne and Lola Vice threw everyone out of the ring, which I really don't get Roxanne working with Lola Vice there. But it ends with the two of them standing together. Lola Vice is looking at the title. I was expecting Julia. Obviously, that's not happening yet. So I think come Heatwave, we will still see that match, though.
Mm-hmm.
So what they have in between now and Heatwave, we'll have to see what's there. But
yeah, time will tell.
And so that's NXT. Moving over to SmackDown. It started with Naomi picking up the victory over Chelsea Green. Bayley was ringside for this. Chelsea Green's theme song has been changed. The new intro has Samantha Irvin's intro for her instead of it's Chelsea. And I think that's a great addition for her entrance. Chelsea cut a promo beforehand, basically just saying her and Piper Niven were walking out with victories from Scotland. And I thought this was a good match. I'm glad that we're getting matches with Chelsea Green getting more offense in. But I don't think I thought Naomi was going to lose this. So kind of, I don't want to say obvious, but I did not think Chelsea Green was winning. Backstage, Blair Davenport made like a snide remark to Naomi. So I assume we'll maybe see a match between them set up. But Piper Niven sandwiched the hell out of Bayley and Naomi backstage. So just further sets up the match at Clash of the Castle between Piper and Bayley. We saw Baron Corbin and Nick Aldis talking backstage. Baron Corbin thanked Nick Aldis for giving him a chance on SmackDown. Legado showed up and made fun of Baron Corbin. And then he left, and Nick Aldis said that Legado del Fantasma has been fined for what they did to Apollo Crews the other week. And Nick Aldis told Santos that Crews was clear to compete, and Santos was like, okay, that's fine, I'll face him. And then later on, Santos Escobar picked up the victory over Apollo Crews. Baron Corbin came out during the match, I guess, to try to even the odds. He attacked Los Lotharios, and Crews did get control for a small chunk of the match after that. But Los Lotharios came back out to brawl with Baron Corbin. And when the referee was distracted with all of that, Elektra Lopez was able to knock Apollo Crews off the top rope. And Escobar got a pin from that to pick up the victory. After that, we saw the Grayson Waller effect with DIY as the guests. And they played footage of what happened last week with Austin Theory. And with Austin Theory being pulled into the way of Johnny Gargano by Grayson Waller. Grayson Waller, of course, called that AI, which I thought was funny. But Ciampa challenged them to a fight right then and there for the tag team titles. And Grayson Waller, being the heel he is, mentioned, why would I want to do that in a place like Scotland? This place sucks, basically. Absolutely not. And Johnny Gargano spoke to Austin Theory. He's like, it kills me to see Grayson Waller using you the way that he's using you. And then Grayson Waller was fed up. He dropped Johnny Gargano. Ciampa jumped in. Austin Theory jumped in. And Austin Theory, I guess, ate a bullet for Grayson Waller. And DIY came out on top. So I do think that we will see DIY become tag team champions. I also feel like, I mean, this is, I guess, long-term at this point. I don't know if DIY will beat Grayson Waller and Austin Theory for the tag team titles, but I do think we will see DIY be champions. So when that happens, I'm not sure. They also, in the crowd, they showed Andrade, Cedric Alexander, Ashanti the Adonis, and Pretty Deadly. And I think that's cool that they do that for these over international shows, I should say. None of them were used on the program outside of that, but maybe we'll see them be introduced again in the United States episodes. After that, though, Cody Rhodes came out and he spoke about how he thought AJ Styles was going to retire the other week and how nobody in the business wants to be the one more shot guy. But AJ Styles is starting to look like that person. And then the OC showed up, and Cody said he thought it was supposed to be a one-on-one face-to-face. He called Gallows and Anderson Horace and Jasper, which popped me. Which, if you don't know that reference, they're the bad guys from 101 Dalmatians. But AJ Styles got in the ring, and he said that he and Cody Rhodes are not the same. It took him 17 years to get to WWE. Meanwhile, Cody basically had it spoon-fed to him. They were excited to push Cody Rhodes. And when it got tough, he quit WWE. And then he went to New Japan, and he quit. He went to Ring of Honor, and he quit. They didn't mention AEW by name, but you know, obviously he's talking about starting a company, AEW, with his friends. And what did he do? He quit. Which still, by the way, annoys me that we didn't see Cody Rhodes on that G1 Supercard. Kenny Omega, for that matter of fact, also, because I was looking forward to seeing Kenny and Cody, but they quit. Actually, I think Kenny might have had another New Japan date after that, but I still don't understand why that happened. But Cody Rhodes said that if anybody quit, AJ Styles quit on himself. And he had to pretend to be Mark Henry to get a rematch. They both basically said they're not going to be quitting, and I thought this was a good segment. After that, Nia Jax picked up the victory over Mia Yim. Tiffany Stratton sat on commentary, and for as quick as this match was, this is what I've been wanting to see from Mia Yim on TV, on Raw and SmackDown. We see this in NXT. She hit that Eat Defeat pretty early on in the match. Nia Jax rolled out of the ring. Mia Yim ends up getting in the face of Tiffany Stratton, so Tiffany Stratton threw water on her. It looked like one of those water things from the Water Boy, the mountain water or whatever. It was like a little vial, it looked like. But Nia Jax was able to take over from that. And I think it sucks that we had 2 distraction spots on this episode, but I think at least they both worked. After that, we saw Logan Paul show up. Or not show up on SmackDown, but show up. They showed off that he was at a Tetris tournament. He showed up at his house, and one of his friends or whatever was like, "Oh, your friend from LA is here in the pool." LA Knight was there in Logan's pool. I expected a lot more to happen here than actually happened. But Logan made him leave, and LA Knight said he'll see him in Chicago next week. And then Carmelo Hayes was actually in the arena. He made fun of LA Knight for that segment, and he said that he has the opportunity next week to become, or to qualify for Money in the Bank. Which I don't understand why they have to qualify. Meanwhile, there are people on Monday Night Raw who are just like, I'm going to be in the Money in the Bank. I don't think anybody else on SmackDown has done that, but I feel like that's kind of goofy that it's not even. But I feel like we see that in other things. After that, we had an interview with the Unholy Union. They had a video package earlier in the night for the champions, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. They had a video package for Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. But for Isla Dawn and Alba Fire, they did an actual interview in front of the crowd just to put them over before the match. It was very, very short, but I think it was the right thing to do for the hometown crowd. They got a good pop. The main event saw Solo Sikoa pick up the victory over Kevin Owens. Earlier in the night, the Street Profits had told Kevin Owens that they have his back in the main event. But then Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa attacked the Street Profits. Nick Aldis barred them from ringside and said that if any of them show up, they're all suspended. And Paul Heyman spoke to Solo Sikoa. I forget exactly what he said, but Solo was like, if I lose, I'm coming after you. So Paul Heyman was worried throughout this whole match. And at one point, Paul Heyman got Solo Sikoa's foot on the rope to break up a pin. And Kevin Owens got pissed off at that. He goes after Paul Heyman. Solo Sikoa ends up hitting a Samoan spike outside to save Paul Heyman. And then he hits another Samoan spike on the inside of the ring to pick up that victory. And then the Bloodline almost immediately jumped Kevin Owens after the match. And Randy Orton made the save. I think that match was like the most main event we've seen Solo look in a while. So I liked that. And I like that we didn't have a distraction. Even though Paul Heyman, technically, I guess you can say, was a distraction there. Which, yeah, it was 100% a distraction. I just think it was a different kind of distraction. So I like that we didn't have wrestlers doing the distracting. But I did pop that Kevin Owens was wearing a Scotland 316 shirt. I wasn't expecting that. But that's SmackDown. Gonna do some predictions for Clash of the Castle. Taking a place at the OVO Hydro. I don't know if it's the OVO Hydro or what, but it's in Glasgow, Scotland. We have Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill defending the tag team championships against Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, and Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. I am sticking with the champions.
I am going to go with the champions retaining. Belair and Cargill. Yeah.
Some of these other matches get hard to predict. We have for the Intercontinental Championship, Sami Zayn defending the title against Chad Gable.
I'm going to go with Sami Zayn.
I feel like it'll be Sami Zayn. I'm going to stick with Chad Gable, though. I got my fingers crossed.
Who are you picking?
I'm picking Chad Gable. I do think it'll be Sammy, but I'm picking Chad Gable.
I'm going to go with Sammy, but then I feel like that's going to be the last straw with Chad, and then that's where the Creeds come in.
We'll see.
Yeah.
For the WWE Women's Championship, the champion Bayley defending it against Piper Niven. Piper Niven, of course, in her home country.
I'm going to go with Bayley.
Isla Dawn, by the way, and Alba Fire also in their home country.
Yeah.
I'm also saying Bayley.
Let's go with the World Heavyweight Championship on the line as Damian Priest defends against Drew McIntyre. Judgment Day is barred from ringside. I am going to go with Drew McIntyre.
Does CM Punk show up and cost Drew McIntyre the match or what? I don't know. I think this is very hard to pick. I'm going to say Drew McIntyre.
I mean, if CM Punk shows up and costs him the match, that's going to make CM Punk the heel there.
Well, CM Punk's not going to care because in the United States, he's not going to be the heel.
True. I'm going Drew.
I'm going to say Drew McIntyre becomes the new champion again.
Yeah. I Quit match for the undisputed WWE Championship. Cody Rhodes defending against AJ Styles. I'm going Cody Rhodes.
I'm going to say Cody Rhodes as well. I think there's like only one scenario where I see AJ Styles winning.
What's that?
And it's if AJ Styles is going to do something to somebody who Cody loves. Cody Rhodes posted a photograph with his mother on a private jet to Scotland.
Oh.
And I think that's the only way Cody Rhodes is saying I quit is if she's threatened.
I don't know.
I'm going to say Cody Rhodes, but I feel like that's a very big possibility and AJ Styles walks out as champion.
Okay. I don't know. I'm going Cody, full blown.
So, that is Clash at the Castle. We're going to take a quick little break right now, and I'll be right back here on Markin Out.
This is the premier athlete, Tony Nese, and you're listening to Markin Out.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Markin Out, episode 697. Moving back to AEW Rampage from last week, it kicked off with Penta picking up the victory over the Butcher, obviously. This match had some sloppy spots, and the Butcher controlled the majority of it, which doesn't really make sense to me. And also during this, Excalibur said at one point, this would have been the Butcher's biggest singles victory if he had won. So I looked up other singles victories for the Butcher, and there's one in April 2022 against an enhancement talent. And then there are 2 house shows and an episode of Dark. So I thought that was very funny to point out, because that would have 100% been his biggest singles victory in AEW. After that, we saw the Acclaimed pick up the victory over Hunter Gray and Parviz. Again, this was an obvious outcome, but these opponents were big dudes, so I think that works in favor of the Acclaimed to get the strong victory against bigger opponents than you would normally see the Acclaimed face. After that, the Gates of Agony picked up the victory over Private Party. More obvious outcomes. I feel like that's all this whole episode of Rampage was. Private Party, I think, looked much better than the Gates of Agony. The match had absolutely no referee control, which is always great to see. After that, we saw the Bullet Club Gold, the Bang Bang Scissor Gang. I don't think they're being called Bullet Club Gold anymore. I feel like that can be dropped, but I'm going to still say Bullet Club Gold. They picked up the victory over Caleb Crush, Chris Wilde, and Tyler Payne. This match started with a hot tag, which I don't know if I've ever seen a match start with that before, but Juice got tagged in and just ran through one of the dudes, and I mean, yes, it was an obvious outcome, but I liked that hot tag spot. Jay White then made Juice Robinson 1/4 of the trio's tag team champions. And then in the main event, we saw Mina Shirakawa pick up the victory over Serena Deeb. I think in a different month, this wouldn't have been so obvious, but Mina Shirakawa needs that victory going into Forbidden Door and facing Toni Storm. So I appreciate Mina Shirakawa getting that victory. Some of this had like delayed moves. I don't know if it was like miscommunication or whatnot, but overall I enjoyed the match. I really, really liked that stretch muffler spot from Serena Deeb that got reversed into a pin. But we saw Mariah May come out to celebrate afterwards, which brought Toni Storm out, who was annoyed to see that. But Mariah May calmed her down and called her into the ring to celebrate as well. And then Mariah May had them shake hands, and I think that should be an interesting match for Forbidden Door to have, like, oh, well, she's on this side, she's on that side. I feel like at Forbidden Door, we will see Mariah May pulling double duty and being in both corners for that match. Moving over to AEW Collision, you had the Blackpool Combat Club, Claudio and Wheeler Yuta pick up the victory versus FTR. That match went to a 20-minute time limit draw, which I thought was a good match. I thought this was so much more enjoyable than the Blackpool Combat Club CMLL match from last week. I didn't like the dueling sharpshooter spot, but I liked the sharpshooter spot later on in the match. But a lot of this, again, like the other match on Rampage, just had no referee control. So I thought that was goofy, especially in a match with FTR where they came into AEW all about tag team rules and everything. We're going to hold the tag ropes. And I feel like this was just like a huge, I don't want to say a mess of a match, but just like there's zero officiating sometimes. And it was hard to remember who was legal at times in this match. But also I didn't like commentary playing dumb at the end. I thought that was goofy. Why would they not know right away that the clock expired? You literally heard Justin Roberts make an announcement, 1 minute left, and they made reference to it. So why, when that ending spot happens, they're like, well, what's happening here? What do you mean what happened? You made a reference to it a minute ago. Are you a goldfish? And then afterwards, Dax called for 5 more minutes, and Brandon Cutler reappears. Giant beard. And obviously appeared on behalf of the Young Bucks, and he said that he has the contract for the match, and no more time will be given. The time says 20 minutes. 20 minutes is 20 minutes, and I appreciate that. I don't think every single time limit draw needs to go back and revisit 5 more extra minutes. But the 4 of them worked together to take out Brandon Cutler. They did a cool triple team move with Claudio catapulting Cutler into a shatter machine. I thought that was pretty cool. After that, Chris Statlander picked up the victory over Robin Renegade. I think this was a good, quick match for Chris Statlander, which to me, this is what Roosh, that match with Isaiah Cassidy should have been with Roosh. And as far as what they were doing in this match, I think this was one of the best matches they've done in the division. Storyline wise and what it meant. Obviously, it's not this huge, long, drawn out match, 5-star classic or whatnot. But what they actually put into that match and why they did what they did, I think was one of the most solid women's matches I've ever seen in AEW. One of the most solid matches, I'll say. Not even just women's. All divisions. And then afterwards, Chris Statlander was announced to be in the Owen Hart tournament by Stokely. And she wants to make history as the first woman to have held that TBS championship and the AEW Women's Championship. I think it would be great to see that, but I don't know if I necessarily think I'll see that. Willow Nightingale also announced that she'll be entering. She'll, I guess, be defending that Owen Hart championship. Not really, but she was the winner. After that, Dustin Rhodes picked up the victory over John Morrison. I thought the match was fine, but it was just kind of eh. They did the HBK and Melina spot from that match. The referee at one point finally kicks Taya Valkyrie from ringside. But afterwards, Dustin thanked everybody and then cut a promo on Jack Perry. He used some of Dusty Rhodes' hard times and called Jack Perry a follower and not a leader. But it sets up a qualifier for that TNT ladder match for Dynamite, which I'll talk about. After that, the Premier Athletes picked up the victory over Dante Leon and Trip Jordy. I was expecting a singles match with one of them and Hook. But there was a lot of intensity from the Premier Athletes, zero ref control. We saw Hook and Samoa Joe attack them in the locker room later on. They tried to make it seem like Shibata was filming by having the iPhone voice. And now I don't know because, spoiler alert, we did see Shibata filming, so I don't know. But after that, we saw Toni Storm pick up the victory over Lady Frost. Good match. I say this every single time Lady Frost is there. I always enjoy seeing her. It would be nice to have her winning matches. Afterwards, Toni Storm announced that Mariah May will be in the Owen Hart tournament as well. We saw Daniel Garcia pick up the victory over Tate Mayfairs. Mayfairs is an international talent. He was used on NXT UK episodes a few times. The match itself, boring to me. This whole Daniel Garcia thing, I think, is plateaued and is starting to go downhill. After that, Orange Cassidy in the main event picked up the victory over Kyle O'Reilly. I think this was another obvious victory for Orange Cassidy. And I think Kyle O'Reilly needs more wins against bigger names. Since he returned, all of his wins have been against enhancement talent and lower card guys. So it sucks seeing a match like this end with Kyle O'Reilly losing. And I don't think there's been another person in AEW that's won more matches than Orange Cassidy this year. So I don't think Orange Cassidy needed that victory. After that, Trent and Kyle Fletcher attacked Orange Cassidy. Kyle O'Reilly tried to help, but he got shut down. Chris Statlander showed up to shake Trent's hand. she picked up Orange Cassidy and then awkwardly drops him, and then Willow ran down to make the save, I guess, or make Chris Statlander run off. The main thing from this was that Zack Sabre Jr., somehow the main thing, is that Zack Sabre Jr. is coming for Orange Cassidy for Forbidden Door. Moving over to AEW Dynamite, it opened up with Swerve. He hyped up Forbidden Door. He spoke about the event last year. He spoke about Revolution and Dynasty, and somehow correlated it to Will Ospreay. And the Elite interrupted when Swerve started to speak about them not defending their titles. To me, this is how you take a boring title reign and make it even more boring. The Young Bucks randomly challenge AEW for Blood and Guts, which is, I think, next month now. And then they asked him to join them for Blood and Guts. I think the one good part of this segment was when Matt gave his sneakers to Swerve, and Swerve was like, well, I don't wear this size. He gave them to Prince Nana, and they spoke about, I forget what word they used, but like being charitable, basically, and threw the sneakers into the crowd. I like audibly laughed at that. I thought that was really funny. But the Elite surrounded the ring, and the Acclaimed Billy Gunn showed up before the Elite could jump Swerve, I guess. They like ran outside of the ring, and then Christopher Daniels came out and said, no brawling, no brawling. They weren't fighting. Didn't look like they were going to fight. And then he sets up the next match, which was Jack Perry picking up the victory over Dustin Rhodes to advance in that TNT ladder match, or to the ladder match, which it was very expected. The officiating in this was some of the worst I've seen in AEW. Dustin Rhodes got busted open during this, I think, for no reason. And before that, Jack Perry took the turnbuckle pad from the middle turnbuckle, and instead of fixing it like every other referee would do, Aubrey takes the pad and throws it to the ring, throws it outside the ring. And then later on, Jack sent Dustin into that already exposed, while busted open, turnbuckle. And that leads towards the end of the match. Like, how that referee, should that not be like a fine or something on the referee for storyline not protecting the talent? That made no sense to me whatsoever. I thought that was so goofy. After that, Roosh picked up the victory over Dion Roosman. I know Dion from following WrestlePro. I'm almost certain, like 99% sure he's from Alaska. And I believe he's trained by Seth Rollins in that Black and Brave school. But Roosh tore right through him, rightfully so. He continued the attack afterwards. MJF, I don't want to say made the save, but showed up. And then they went at it back and forth, and they both started taking out security. Christopher Daniels and the referees ran down, and they couldn't break it up. The brawl went to the back. Well, they fought in the crowd, first of all. But it finally got separated backstage. I know Glacier was there. I thought it was a good brawl, but just an incredibly pointless feud. And they'll face off, no commercials, next week to open up AEW Dynamite. It's like a lose-lose for both of them. After that, Kyle Fletcher, Takeshita, and Roderick Strong picked up the victory over Kyle O'Reilly, Orange Cassidy, and Mark Briscoe. And I thought this match was going to involve Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander. Not Mark, not Roderick Strong, not Takeshita. So I didn't really understand this match. Especially, why was Mark Briscoe there? I didn't get that at all, but this seemed like a match you would see on the indies. Like, it was chaotic, it was fast-paced, kind of all over the place, but also not bad. And of anyone in this, Mark Briscoe, I think, needed the victory the most. Because, first of all, the Ring of Honor Championship has not been defended since he won it. And he's going into a ladder match for the TNT Championship. now Kyle Fletcher, I believe the TV champion for Ring of Honor, pins the Ring of Honor World Champion. I don't know when the next ROH event is, but does that set up your main event right there? But since Mark Briscoe has that ladder match coming up at Forbidden Door, to me that's a no-brainer. Why is Mark Briscoe not getting those victories? After that, Trent beat down Orange Cassidy. Willow's music hit, but which also was she going to make the save? Like, was she gonna beat up Trent? But Chris Statlander had attacked her, and that was the end of that. We found out that Shingo Takagi will be in the Owen Hart tournament, which is pretty cool. Pac also entered that. I don't know if Shingo will show up. Hopefully he does before Forbidden Door. Not sure, though. We saw Hook and Samoa Joe pick up the victory over the Premier Athletes. They did this weird thing before the match where, like, during their entrance, where they had banter between Hook and Samoa Joe, which I didn't like that. But they attacked Tony Nese and Daivari during their entrance. Shibata was filming this. So I thought that was interesting because I was so convinced on the other show that Shibata wasn't there and they were just using the voice gimmick from the iPhone. They still could have been doing that. But now we know that Shibata was actually there for Dynamite, at least, filming. So I thought that was pretty funny. During the match, Shibata ended up taking Smart Mark Sterling out. Locked him in a sleeper hold. Samoa Joe had a sleeper hold. Hook had the sleeper hold or whatever. I think this match overall could have been much better. Because what's next between this? Is singles, another tag match? A 6-man tag perhaps, probably? I don't know. I don't see where they're going with it. After that, we saw Mercedes Moné pick up the victory over Zeuxis to retain. They aired a video package for Stephanie Vicor before this. I think she should have been the one wrestling on this episode of Dynamite. Mercedes is a proven professional wrestler in AEW. The TV audience knows Mercedes Moné. And as much as I've wanted to see Zeuxis on television since she was in that Mae Young Classic, I think it was in 2017, there's no reason why she should have been in this. Well, like, who cares if there was going to be a random title change in a random episode of Dynamite like that? When Mercedes, the big match is against Stephanie Vicor. And I understand that she's tag team partners, but we didn't need this title match. I enjoyed this match. I wish it was longer. But I truly don't understand why we would get a Mercedes Moné showcase match. And I thought it would have been perfect to have a match like Deonna Purrazzo versus Stephanie Vicor, where you have Thunder Rosa on commentary, and obviously Stephanie Vicor gets the victory there. Deonna Purrazzo and Thunder Rosa get into it. And then that could set up whatever match they have going on Collision. That makes so much more sense than having Mercedes Moné in a showcase match for a championship where the big sell is Forbidden Door against Zeuxis, who people more than likely would not have known. That just, to me, that it makes zero sense there at all. I don't know if Stephanie Vicor will show up and have a match on Dynamite next week or something. I would love for AEW to start booking more than one women's match. Do they not deserve that? There's more than enough talent there. There are so many matches. You have the next segment, TV Time with the Learning Tree. I muted this segment. I don't need to see these type of segments like that. I know Private Party was involved with this, but I'm good. They could have had another women's match right there. They could have added more time to Mercedes Moné versus Zeuxis. It's just dumb. I'm over that. And then you fast forward, you got Daniel Garcia picking up the victory over Nick Camarado. Why? What's the point of this? And why was MJF watching this? I understand why Will Ospreay was watching this, because Garcia wants that championship, but this match didn't need to happen either. Not at all. We just had the Daniel Garcia match on the other episode of was it Collision? Not necessary. And then you got the main event. Will Ospreay picked up the victory over Fenix to retain the championship. Ospreay beforehand delivered that contract to Swerve, who was sitting ringside. The match went exactly how you would expect it to go. I thought it was a fun match. That hidden blade, like uppercut that Will Ospreay did, was pretty cool. But he hit a Swerve stomp towards the end, and then he hit another hidden blade to pick up the victory. Perfect to set up the match for Forbidden Door there. And then Ospreay offered his hand to Swerve for a handshake. And Swerve, like, yelled at Ospreay, like, saying, "Oh, you think this is a joke?" Something like that. And I don't really understand how that came off to Swerve as Ospreay joking. Maybe I missed where Will stuck his tongue out or something at him and said, "Nah, nah, 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 nah." I have no idea. But Ospreay ripped the AEW Championship away from Swerve. People were booing the close of AEW, but I don't know if they were booing Swerve. I don't know if they were booing Ospreay. And I just feel like the AEW Championship is just floating there, up and down. I don't feel like any of this is main event. I still don't. Will Ospreay should be out building that championship that he has, not going for the AEW Championship. Swerve should be out there building the AEW Championship, not having a match with another champion like that. So that's AEW Dynamite. Give us more women's matches. Like I said before, I really, really would have liked to have seen more of Mercedes Moné and Zeuxis. So, but like I said, that's Dynamite. Hey, Brandon, got any shout-outs? Listen to Brandon's shout-outs, because when there's shout-outs, there's honey. The first shout-out goes to Let the Canary Sing, which is a new documentary about Cyndi Lauper out on Paramount+. I thought it was very well done, and I enjoyed seeing the wrestling footage. I wish there was more of them to be on the documentary who were part of that era. They've unfortunately, most of them have passed away, but Wendy Richter was on it, so I popped for that. And overall, I enjoyed the documentary. If you like Cyndi Lauper, check it out. She's going out on her Girls Just Want to Have Fun farewell tour. Hopefully I get to go. Maybe I won't. I probably won't, but would be cool. Well, I don't know if it's retiring, but we'll see. My second shout out goes to the drama miniseries Clipped, based on the ESPN 30 for 30 podcast about Donald Sterling, out on Hulu. Have you seen any trailers or anything for this?
Not to my knowledge.
Ed O'Neill stars in it as Donald Sterling, and Lawrence Fishburne plays Doc Rivers. I think all of the episodes will be out by July 2nd, and it's not something I would typically find myself watching, but I thought the trailer looked pretty good, so I checked it out. I don't even watch basketball. I obviously know the story. It was a huge story in 2014 and how scummy Donald Sterling was.
Oh, I saw the preview. I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, so I'm enjoying it. There's 3 episodes out right now. I thought the whole thing was going to be out at once, but that wasn't the case, and I'm watching it. Like I said, it's on Hulu, so check that out. And then the last shout out goes to Pat Sajak, as he stepped down of the hosting duties of Wheel of Fortune last week after 41 years. I think along with Bob Barker and Alex Trebek, they were like the pillars of game show hosts. And I think Pat Sajak might even have the Guinness World Record for how long he served as host.
Wow.
But it'll be definitely weird to see Ryan Seacrest hosting that show. And I hope that when they do a Celebrity Jeopardy, Pat gets brought on as a guest, a contestant, I mean. I think that would be fun. But Pat Sajak's a legend, and I had to give him a shout-out for that. I enjoy watching Wheel of Fortune from time to time, so check out old episodes, I guess.
Yeah.
But those are my shout-outs. Now it's time for our
Mark Out Moment of the Week.
That is right, our Mark Out Moment of the Week.
I totally marked out for The Price is Right. There was a contestant at the very end where their bid was $1 off.
Yeah, I saw that. It was a great bid.
$1 off. I think that was a double prize winner, and I think that was the best bid of all time on that show. But that was really incredible to be seen. I was just like, I was so thrown back. I was like, holy crap. $1 off. So he won both prizes. So I definitely marked out for that.
I saw he won a car. I don't know what else.
I forgot. I feel like there was a trip in there, maybe a boat. I don't remember.
I guess non-wrestling wise, I'll say I thought it was pretty cool seeing the whole cast of The Princess and the Frog
riding the ride.
Yeah, they were riding Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and I've
never seen that movie, but I want to.
I saw it one time. It was a very good movie.
Yeah, I want to.
I'm not thrilled with the videos that I'm seeing of the new ride, but I thought that was a cool moment to see, and I'll still be riding the ride, hopefully, when I'm there next. I just don't know how it'll work. I assume it'll be a virtual queue, which I'm not looking forward to. But hopefully I'll get on it with no problem, and because ultimately I'd like to ride it 3 times, because I'd like to ride it once just to experience the ride, twice to take photographs, and a 3rd time at night because it looks completely different. So hopefully I'll have that. It was really cool to see the cast, and it does suck that there are, like, for some reason the animatronics, they didn't do like a continuous thing. It's like it waits for you to get to them. So in some of the scenes, it's like you're there, but it's not registering that you're there. So it's like animatronics just like dead, and then it gets turned on or whatever. So it's like kind of goofy. So hopefully I'll enjoy it more in person. Wrestling wise, I know you marked out for Joe Hendry, all those references.
Yeah, all the comments and stuff like that. Yeah. Even Drew McIntyre was asked about it in an interview.
Oh, yeah, I saw that too, yeah.
Yeah.
But also wrestling-wise, I feel like the biggest thing for me was probably seeing Jonathan Gresham on WWE programming. He was featured on the behind-the-scenes vlog for Jordynne Grace for Battleground. I really was hoping that Gail Kim was going to as well, because I popped at her being at Battleground, but they didn't show her. So that was unfortunate. I figured since they had mentioned her on Monday Night Raw a few months ago that maybe they would, or a few weeks ago I should say, that maybe they would show her at NXT, but wasn't the case. But overall, it was cool. And that's pretty much the end of the show. Those are Mark Out Moments. That's episode 697. Thank you so much for listening. You can follow us on Twitter at Markin Out, at BTTG161 on both platforms, Instagram, Twitter. Chris Sweendog, Sam Sweeney85, David PTDPT, Facebook.com/MarkinOut, YouTube and Instagram are MarkinOut11, ProWrestlingTees.com/MarkinOut. I'm sure there's going to be some sales coming up. Check out ProWrestlingTees.com and look for those. Check us out on TikTok at Markin Out. Listen on markinout.com, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, wherever else you're listening to podcasts. And we wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors. Have a fantastic week.